Good evening.
Hello.
Hello.
I'm assuming the sun is shining where everybody is at
Yeah,
this
it's
moment.
been really, yeah, we've had a nice few days.
Just fabulous, isn't it?
Oh,
It
yes.
definitely makes things easier. It's just that, yeah. I don't know, it just helps things, doesn't it?
I know we were struggling in on Saturday on the Tough Mudder because we just wanted water or mud.
Yes.
It was
That
so hot.
Sadly, we were chatting about Tough Mudder and yeah, how did you get on?
Well, it's my fifth one, so I'm thinking, oh my God. Well, my shoe, it's so funny. Somebody put a post on in the inner circle saying my trainers have had it. She goes, oh, I just left them there. Like, 'cause you can put them in a thing for charity or you can bin them. She goes, oh, she's binned
Okay.
hers because they didn't make it. And I goes, well, mine made it after the fifth one. And I goes, but they're going in the bin. They're going in the bin. The thing is, you can't
Brilliant.
tell 'cause there's so much mud and stuff on them. And then literally,
Yeah.
I think they've the soles coming off.
Oh,
But it was good. It was good the fact that there's so many more new
yes.
people there. And obviously you saw the old face, well, not old people, like as in the people that had been on the program for longest. It was
Yeah,
nice in that
yeah,
sense.
yeah,
But
yeah.
it was just a bit of a nightmare for myself because I had trouble with my hotel where everybody else was staying. And then I had to like a day or two before we went, I had to get another hotel and stuff. And then I ended up coming down on the day. It was only like it was about 2 hour and 10 minute drive before then yeah, it's had a nightmare getting there. I actually
Yeah.
got there and then it was good. It was good, but it's just yeah, just been messed around with that. But it is what it is. But I managed to do it.
Well done.
Yeah, but it's just really nice to see everybody, see everybody, because it's not just about doing the physical thing, which is good as well, because you're pushing yourself out of your
Yeah,
comfort zone. It's
absolutely.
meeting everybody else as well, and then supporting
Absolutely.
each other. And then I was trying to help people on some of the um obstacles, and it was just like the dry because it was so hot. The mud dry our t-shirts are rock hard because of the
Okay.
mud had dried out. And then when there were people were getting you trying to push people over, they were like literally mud bits were coming down off it. It was like, and then we just wanted water or mud because it was like I think it was the third or fourth obstacle, and we still had no water or
Oh,
like just to go cool down, just to
yeah.
cool down in the water. And then I went into the one of the water, the first one, I think it was Block Ness. I was calling it the toll
Oh,
bar,
yeah.
like
Yeah,
that one. And I came out of it, and Jane Boyd had to hold me by the arms each side because I couldn't walk. I couldn't walk. I could walk, but I was literally like I'm like drunk because I think if it was a shock. She said this is what she said because it's a shock to the system. So
yeah.
she goes, "Oh, box breathe." So box breathe. After about a minute, I was all right.
Beautiful.
But I think it was because I only had lack of 2 hours sleep,
Yeah.
stuff going on, and then I was too excited to. I was worried about driving, so what if I fall asleep? But I didn't because I think I was too excited to see everybody. That's what it was. That's
Yeah.
what it was. And then in the evening, when everybody was dancing around, I had no energy because my eyes were wanted to like fall asleep.
Oh,
And then
yeah.
there were loads of like women. We needed Maria Pombo there to dance. 'Cause she always
Yes.
starts a party going. And then I think Debbie got on, and then I think Melly and there's a few others. And the next one, there's like about 20, 30 of them dancing, dancing all together. And then I think Alex had a bit of an injury doing the dancing, but I
Oh, I
was
heard about the break dancing. Yeah. Oh
yeah,
dear.
but
Now,
that's it.
remember, it wasn't the break dancing.
It wasn't the break
It
dancing.
wasn't
I
the
was
break
prior to that.
dancing.
Yeah.
Yes, yes,
If
yes.
anyone asks us officially,
Yeah, but it was really just good to see everybody, and then like
yeah.
the new people, just it was just nice. It was just like
Yeah,
really good experience.
that's fantastic. Brilliant. And I saw Daisy was putting in comments there that she didn't make this one. Disappointed. Her anxiety was overwhelmed. Sorry to hear that, Daisy. But well done to all those attended. So there you go. Daisy, be there next year? Anyone else already planning for next year?
I'll be there next year.
You'll be there. Excellent.
It
Excellent.
depends on where it is. I always say, oh, I'm not going to do another one, but I end up doing it. I end up doing it. But hopefully, because I'm quite in the central, so it's not that bad for me to
Yeah.
travel.
Yeah.
But
Mhm.
we'll see. But it's just even if you don't like do the obstacle thing, if you do, it's just to see, you don't have to just pushing yourself out of your comfort zone. But I think
Absolutely.
it's not just that, it's meeting everybody.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
you
100%.
I
need to meet
think
the coaches as well.
last year is my first one, and I went and I said, you know what? My goal is to just at least do one. because I knew there was a couple of the water ones. I knew I could do them. They looked easy enough. I'm like, I'll at least do them. I think I tried all but what, like 3 or something?
Wow,
Yeah.
that's
But didn't
fantastic.
accomplish all of them. Um,
Yeah, but you
Anything to do
on.
with grip, I absolutely just failed completely on. But I mean, I tried them. So yeah,
Absolutely.
it's like, you know,
Absolutely.
I think that's the way to go. You go thinking, well, I'll do what I can, and you don't try and push yourself. And then all of a sudden you're there, and everyone's urging you on, and you're doing
Yeah,
them
you get a
all, and
little
you're
bit
having a great
competitive
time.
and yeah.
So
That's fantastic. Well done, everybody. Sounds like it was a very successful event, which
Aoife,
is
you should
great.
come next time.
I will come
yeah,
next time. I do need to. Yeah, no, I definitely need to put it in the calendar. Very fun.
We'll hold you to that now. We'll hold you to that. Yeah.
we heard you say it.
It's on
We've got it on
It's on
camera.
recording. We've
We've
got
got
you
it.
on
We've got it on
recording.
camera now.
Oh, you're so right. I'll start my prep. I'll start my prep. So tell me, outside of Tough Mudder, has anybody got any news or any little wins or setbacks they've overcome or anything else been happening? Might have been kind of Tough Mudder dominated of late. Well, Jen, you had your win, which is great.
Yeah, which is it was a couple
You
minutes
had to
later.
change.
I was saying on the last mastermind, I just threw on my little like spaghetti strap top just to hang around the house, and it was so big the straps kept falling down. It's like literally falling off my body. So that is no longer a walk, even a around the house shirt. It is just a
No,
done
no,
shirt.
that's for charity shop or yeah,
Yeah, yeah. Probably
yeah,
not charity shop, probably Ragman.
probably
But
for well, fair enough. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Excellent, excellent. So any other news? Anyone joining us for the first time who I haven't met? I just need to look through our.
I think it's the first time I've been on one of your masterminds.
Hi, Alison. How are you?
Oh, good, thanks.
So tell me a little bit about your goals. What are you working on at the moment?
Well, I have just actually got to the 10,000 steps. So I was pretty
Well
pleased. It
done.
was the first week where it's been 10,000 every day. So
That's amazing. Wow,
yeah,
well done, Alison. Yeah.
yeah, just working towards being consistent really with everything.
Very good.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's as you said, when things become habit and it takes time and it takes practice and it takes persistence, and then it becomes easier. I'm not going to say that it's ever easy. I think any healthy habits that we have in our lives, they do take work, they take motivation, they take effort, but it does get easier once they have become a habit. So
Yeah.
that's excellent. Fair play, Alison. And you think a Tough Mudder next year?
Yeah, definitely.
Fantastic. That sounds great. Yeah, brilliant stuff. Well, great to meet you, Alison. Alrighty, so we'll go ahead and get started on our topic for this evening, which comes under the heading of positive psychology, not to be confused with toxic positivity, where everything's great and fine and perfect when it's not, because that's not healthy. But gratitude falls under the positive psychology heading, which is around, I suppose, when we think about mental health and we think about our well-being, oftentimes we focus on reducing the negative. So if we're thinking about, well, if we're feeling, say, a little bit depressed, we want to try and reduce that down. We're kind of more so to sadness, because once we go up to depression, we're quite high on that kind of emotion scale. Same thing for reducing our anxiety, for example, reducing our stress. But positive psychology really says, okay, well, those things are good, but what about the positive emotions? And how are we going to build those? Because we can work hard to reduce our anxiety, to improve our mood and things like that. But that doesn't mean that our positive emotions, like joy, for example, are just going to bounce into wherever they need to be. And so we have to work to increase those positive emotions. And that's kind of, I suppose, the direction of positive psychology. So there's a couple of different angles of it. One of which is this idea of gratitude. Okay, so I would like you to type into the chat box what comes to mind when you think about this idea of gratitude. What do you visualize? thinking about, is it something that you think about positively? Is it something you think about negatively? Is it something that maybe you think, I don't think I have that in my life at all? Maybe it's something that you have in bucket loads. I just want to get your thoughts, no right or wrong answers, into the chat. I want to get your thoughts. What comes to mind when you think about gratitude? Or if you were to hear that word gratitude, what would you be thinking? So Daisy is going to do it next year. Excellent. Fantastic. So Pam is saying grateful for the small wins. Fantastic. Yeah. And that might be, I got all of my emails sent today. I managed to get through my checklist of things I had to do today. I made a difficult phone call. I finally got to sending back that package that I had to return. All those little things are saying, yeah, I did great. I'm delighted I have that done now. And also, you know, for little things, maybe you got a compliment, maybe you reached a goal or a target, and you're saying, gosh, that's great. Delighted for that. Really grateful for that. Yeah, excellent. And Amanda is saying, thankful for someone or so for something or someone. Excellent. Yeah, 100%. So you might be grateful that the sun is shining, which I think we all are. You might be grateful that you have somebody really special in your life, or somebody who helped you out recently, or somebody who is a great friend or a great neighbor, a great partner. Yeah, very good. Excellent. And Jacqueline's saying grateful for all this lovely weather. I love it. Yeah, absolutely. And good for the vitamin D and all of those good benefits. And again, as humans, sunlight is good for us. Obviously, we need to be hydrating and we need to be sun cream and all that good stuff. But absolutely, the weather really does have an impact on us. And we want to make that. I mean, it rains plenty, as we know. So we certainly want to be grateful for any kind of good weather spells, anything that helps us to maybe get out and about a little bit more. And yeah, absolutely. Excellent. Very good. And I suppose as well that it sort of emphasizes that we might all have kind of different ideas of what gratitude is. We might go about practicing it in different ways. So let's have a look at more detail as to what it is. So the psychology of life presents us with some uncomfortable truths. One truth is that life is hard and it is sometimes unfair. And that is the case. Everybody experiences, and I suppose that's what unites us in our humanity. Everybody experiences setbacks, everybody experiences loss, rejection, bereavement, all of those, not very pleasant. And you know, it's not done on a fair basis. Terrible things happen to very lovely, nice people, and that's just life. So we know that life is going to throw all sorts of things at us. There's generally not a good time for these things to be happening, as far as we're concerned. But the reality is that life throws all sorts of things at all of us. Some days, you know, it's hard to think about, you know, all of the difficulties in life that we can experience. I mean, there's so many, and everybody's list is going to be different depending on their circumstances. But we know we have, say, for example, an epidemic of anxiety and depression, and that's worldwide. We don't really know why that is the case. We can kind of point fingers at this or that, but it doesn't really seem to be any one thing. But we know that really prevention is always going to be better than trying to come up with a cure. So that's why we want to be encouraging ourselves and everybody to be working on their well-being and their mental health where they can. So it is inevitable if you are a human, it is inevitable that across our lifetime, we're going to experience setbacks, disappointments, and upsetting events. Nobody is able to get through life without having experienced any of those things. And it's one of the reasons why we talk a lot, even, I don't know if you have young people in your lives or children in your lives, why it's very important that we teach them resilience, because it makes sense that as parents, we might want to jump in and make everything really easy for them, and we don't want them to struggle, and we don't want them to suffer. We certainly don't want them in distress, but we do need to learn those skills to be able to cope with life setbacks, disappointments, and upsetting events, because they're coming. We know that they are on our pathway in life. And really it's down to then as to how we can cope with them and how that we can manage them. There's a message in the chat there. Temple, you're running late, just got in from work. Excellent, good to see you. Fantastic. We are talking all things gratitude. During difficult times, we can be guilty of getting bogged down in our own misery. So we all know what it's like if you've had a bad day or you're going through something difficult or you're feeling upset or sad or angry and you think I'll listen to some sad music or I'll watch some very dark movie or murder documentary or something. So we can be guilty of kind of adding into our misery. And in reality, if we're going through a difficult time, we need to be doing the opposite of that, which is watching funny movies and reading funny books and things like that. But we can be very guilty of kind of feeding into the misery. And that's not invalidating the things that we go through in our life are tough. Of course they are. We go through very upsetting events. We go through very difficult setbacks. Um, and of course, we're going to feel that range of emotions, but it's really about keeping them within that healthy range. So sadness, for example, that we don't allow sadness to keep on going down as far as depression. Anger, that we keep it in that healthy zone, that we don't push it up into that unhealthy anger. So that's something, as I said, we can be guilty of, is pouring more misery on ourselves, or we kind of get into that kind of negative cycle and we can kind of get stuck there. And again, it's understandable and we can struggle with our motivation and our perspective and things like that. But we want to be making sure that if we are going through a difficult time or when we are encountering a difficult time down the road, that we can essentially make the most of it. I was listening there was Michelle Obama was talking about one of the I suppose the particularly younger generations and this kind of pressure to be happy all the time. And she was saying we have to be able to find happiness in the tough times because that's really where that happiness is. And that's where we've really got to be digging deep and doing everything that we can. It's not, we can't wait for when that happens and when life is perfect and when all my stress is gone and this, that, or the other. We're going to be waiting a long time. Because we know those tough times are only around the corner. So we have to be able to find that happiness in those tough times. And that's really what gratitude, it's one element of it, is really all about. So how are we going to make the most out of it? If we know that we're going to encounter these tough times, and sometimes these tough times can really be prolonged, they can go on for weeks, months, years, in some cases. So how are we going to make the most out of life while we're trying to deal with these tough times or prepare ourselves for those tough times ahead? So gratitude, this idea, nothing new. So a lot of, I suppose, our elements of our mindset have stemmed from what people were talking about and working on thousands upon years ago. So there'd be a good bit of, for example, in Buddhist philosophy, there'd be a lot of gratitude there as well. But we could define gratitude as a process in which we recognize that something good has happened to us while considering whoever or whatever, so a person, it could be nature, it could be a god, was responsible. Okay, so I am really grateful for a beautiful blue sky outside my window, and I got to sit out and have a cup of tea, or maybe I've had a flower appearing in my garden, maybe a neighbor waved at me, or someone called in to see how I was, or so we're grateful. We're saying this is something that as good has happened, and we're offering that gratitude. And it's very important when we're doing this that we are really acknowledging it. We might say, oh, that's nice. That's not enough. We really have to be able to say, geez, Mary texted me to see how I was doing. That was really kind of her. I'm very grateful to have a friend like that. Or, geez, look at this beautiful weather. So grateful to be out and have the sunshine, and or whatever it is that's important to you. So, for example, if we receive a gift from someone, we'll feel gratitude towards that person. And there is a sense of this person has tried to better my life in some shape or form. Okay, so that'd be a kind of a common occurrence when we would experience gratitude. But it doesn't have to be someone gave me that thing or did that thing for me. We can also have a general attitude of gratitude for life, an attitude of gratitude. We might feel grateful to have a roof over our heads, for example. So you might say, I'm glad that I have a home, for example, or I'm glad that I have a job or a family or good neighbors, or and also even just the beauty of nature. Isn't this fantastic? Isn't this beautiful? Where else would you want to be while you're on a walk in the woods? Okay, so there's lots of different areas in which we can experience gratitude. And that's where the first step really is about being able to open up our awareness to it. So being able, and particularly as I said, if we're going through a difficult time, that can be when it's almost like we kind of put on these negative glasses and everything that we're seeing in life is very negative. Whereas if we can put on the gratitude glasses, even if it's a tough time, we can still say, gosh, that was great. That was a really lovely moment. That was really positive today. You know, delighted about that. Well, this is difficult and that's difficult, but at least I have X, Y, or Z. And even to be simply grateful to be alive. I was listening to, there was a Irish boy. He was about 16 and he was diagnosed with cancer. And it was an old interview, but he was talking about, I suppose he was encouraging people to be grateful for being alive, because he knew that based on the type of cancer that he had, that basically his time was limited. And he was saying, you know, I wish I knew that I was going to have loads more days. I wish I knew I was going to have more months or more years, or you really don't know how lucky you are to know that you're going to have tomorrow, when you're in my place where I don't know that I'm going to have tomorrow. And it was a really interesting perspective. And I suppose, again, that we can get so bogged down in our worries and our stress. And again, not to minimize those things, they're very valid. But just that feeling of, geez, I'm here, and I'm working towards my goals and I'm getting to do these things. So being grateful for that. Um, so looking at some of the benefits, right? So it's shown us this, the research has shown us that people tend to experience more gratitude in their lives than others. So we might say, okay, so it does seem that there are more gratitude practicing people. And then we want to try and understand kind of why. Well, what is it about those people that might be different? I'd like to get your thoughts into the chat box. Any ideas, if we were to think of people who, maybe you know somebody, maybe it's yourself, who practices a lot of gratitude? And what would you say maybe is kind of an important characteristic about them, or something that kind of strikes you about them that might lead them to practicing more gratitude? So why might somebody be more grateful than other people? So Jen is saying, if you watch a crime movie or some drama like that, you might be grateful that your life isn't quite that bad. Jen, I can't argue with that perspective. And you're absolutely right. Yeah, 100%. And being able to actually even say, geez, that poor person, or so maybe my problems aren't quite as bad. Yeah, I'll meet you halfway there, Jen. You're absolutely right. And Jacqueline was saying, advice I was given years ago was live every day like it's your last. Yeah, fantastic. And listen, we all know of so many stories where, you know, people, you know, might have passed in tragic circumstances or very life-changing events, or you know, and things like that, and their life was shortened. And as a result, you really, you know, you have to take every day and be grateful for every day and that you're here. And it's doing those little things, as Jacqueline was saying there. So it could be, you know, getting out for a walk, getting out in the sunshine, maybe booking something for yourself down in the calendar that you'd like to do, because we really do have to make the most of it. And as I said, not getting too bogged down in that misery, even though I know that can be easier said than done. But you're absolutely right. Yeah, spot on. And Temple is saying people might have a more positive outlook on life. Yeah, fantastic. They're more open to recognize moments that they feel grateful for. Excellent. Yeah, so they kind of have that more positive philosophy in terms of life. You know, they have a more positive view of themselves, of other people, of the world in general. I mean, they're still going to recognize that, you know, there's going to be negative out there, but for the most part, that's kind of what they focus on. And then, as you were saying there, they have the opportunities then to recognize what they're grateful for. Yeah, spot on. Jacqueline is saying, my mother always looked on the bright side of life, so it was something that I learned from her. Yeah, yeah, very good. We do know that those people who just always tend to be kind of sunny side up. They're always kind of saying, listen, it'll be grand and it'll work out, and sure, at least this, that, or the other. So they could be very stoic, for example, as well. Or they might, you know, again, tend to have a particular way of looking at things, or a way of looking at life. And again, we could all encounter the same situation, but people then can have a different view on it. And Daisy is saying, I used to be a positive person. Yeah, and you know, that can change as well, particularly if we you know, encounter difficult situations or trauma or things like that. Now, sometimes, you know, it might be that our positivity was a little bit iffy before these events, and sometimes that leaves it a little bit more vulnerable. It's kind of hard to know. But certainly if you think, for example, if you were, oh, I don't know, betrayed by somebody that you thought was really supportive of you, or you thought that would be loyal to you and then they weren't, that could really kind of shake your view on things. And well, if I can't trust them, how am I going to trust anyone? Or how can I trust things are going to work out for me? Or so absolutely, as Daisy said there, we can't change our perspective, but equally we could change it back or change it to that we do take that more positive view on it. And as I said, it's not unhealthy positivity, that's not useful. But it's about minimizing our distress and minimizing our misery as best we can. And Pam says every cloud has a silver lining. It's become every experience has learning behind it. Yeah, 100%. And it doesn't matter what we're going through in life. So, I mean, for example, if you're going through a bereavement, and it might be a moment where you recognize, like, geez, I didn't know I had this many people who cared. Or that neighbor that I've only spoken to a couple of times, came over and asked if I needed anything, or they needed me to go to the shop for them. And geez, that was really nice. Or, so it's often as well in those dark times that we can recognize so much of the good that we have. Um, or oftentimes if we have a setback, maybe we have an injury, for example, and then that facilitates us more time to maybe take up a new class or a new hobby or something while we're rehabbing and we're recovering. And you might sort of find something that you never knew you loved, or it takes you in a different direction. It gives you opportunities. So as Pam was saying there, it is every cloud. And that's when we talk about growth mindset as opposed to fixed, that's really what it's about. It's seeing those setbacks as opportunities, whether it's to learn, whether it's to grow, whether it's to try new things. And it's really about, well, I have time, or I have X, Y, or Z now that has happened as a result of maybe something negative happening, and how can I make the best of that, and how can I do something good with it. So yeah, absolutely spot on. And Alison is saying journaling is really helping me think and behave positively. Very good. Yeah. And there's definitely something about, because I know we can process things in our head and do it well, but there's definitely something about putting it down in front of us, whether it's we're putting it in on our iPad or particularly pen to paper, about being able to see that perspective. And certainly we could think about, kind of the positive journal. That's another thing that we can do. As Alison was mentioning, journaling there. So you might say, well, I'm going to set up a task for this week, and I'm going to note down everything positive that happens. I woke up and the sun was shining. Somebody texted me. It could be someone said hello to me. I walked my dog. I got a promotion. I had a win in terms of my goals. I stuck to my plan. Whatever it is that we're writing it down, and that can really help, because our brain can get kind of biased, as I said, and focusing in on the negative. So sometimes we have to be like, here's the positive, here it is, and you need to read it. I need to sit with it. And that's a very good thing to do. So fair play. And Jen said, my mother loves the serenity prayer, and it's not exactly gratitude, but it's definitely about letting go of negativity. Oh, very good. Yeah, absolutely. And there would be a lot in different religions in terms of their philosophy. There certainly would be a lot of thinking around that, because again, it's about helping us to accept what has happened to us. And again, that's not, oh, everything's fine. It's just, this has happened and I have to move forward from here. And again, letting go of that negativity. So, I mean, we can hold on to anger, and we can hold on to resentment. We can hold on to all of these things, but all we're doing is drinking our own poison and expecting the other person to be suffering, which doesn't help. So yeah, that sounds excellent, Jen. Yeah. And again, it's a mantra that we can use to help us in life. So very good. Yeah. So we're looking for hopefulness. Hope is very powerful. So people who tend to be a little bit just leaning a bit more, I think it'll work out. I think we have an option here. I think we have a chance here. I think we'll give it a go here. People who are also empathetic, people who are helpful as well. So, I mean, if you're able to get in and give people a hand or volunteer, it's all very good for us. And the World Health Organization has recognized kind of community, not service, that's not the right word, but, helping out in your community and doing volunteering and things like that is one of those kind of pillars of mental health and well-being. Now, I know if you're going through something really difficult, you might be thinking, where am I going to get the time and the energy to go out and, help my fellow man? But if you can, it can be very, very helpful. But again, even thinking about, just bringing it into our lives in some way. Amanda, you are going to Zumba. Fantastic. Well, enjoy yourself. Good to see you. Some people also tend to have religious or spiritual beliefs, also have an appreciation of the simple pleasures in life rather than material goods, cars, holidays, things like that. And it's not to dismiss that those things don't bring us joy, but they don't bring us as much joy as, say, experiences. So being out in your garden or going for a walk or doing Tough Mudder or all of that good stuff. Those tend to have a lot more positive impacts on us. And certainly, as I said there, just that general appreciation. Jen is saying volunteering is one of the best things I've done for myself. Yeah, absolutely, 100%. And then all the other people or animals are benefiting from it. And that's really, again, if we look at how we're going to, tackle issues in terms of mental health and well-being going forward, that really is going to be a key way, is getting more people involved in community and volunteering and things like that. Yeah, very good. Connection as well between anxiety, gratitude and mental health. It does help us to experience less anxiety and less depression. So there's kind of multiple benefits to practicing it. And again, you might be saying, well, my mom or my sister or my neighbor, or, well, they're all very hopeful people, they're very helpful people, or they're very this or that. And maybe they are more naturally grateful, but we can learn. It is a practice, as we talk about in our philosophies, is that we practice these various different principles. So gratitude is something that we can learn to master, but we have to put in the time and the practice. So as I said earlier on, it comes under that umbrella of positive psychology. And what we're doing is working to, yes, reduce sadness and worry, but we also have to engage in practices to boost positive emotions such as joy. I always say that, if we're sitting at home, we're going through a tough time, happiness, joy, they're not going to come and knock on the door looking for you, right? You have got to go out, you've got to engage in those practices to boost those positive emotions. And you might not feel like doing it. That's all the more reason to do it. And again, I know that can be tricky, but it's about being able to kind of see those barriers, because sometimes we can tend to say isolate ourselves, for example, or we avoid things when in reality it's going to be good for us. So it helps us to reduce stress, it helps to reduce chronic pain, strengthening friendships and relationships, boosting positive emotions. Those are only just a small list of the benefits of gratitude. But also even just in terms of the expression of gratitude also has benefits. So being able to say, thank you to somebody. So let's take our following example. You're in the supermarket and you notice the person behind you only has one item. So you've got your trolley and you're doing your weekly shop, for example, and you notice the person behind you is just run in to grab something. Okay. You invite them to skip ahead of you in the queue, right? Which, if you're in a rush, you mightn't be so inclined. But if you're thinking, oh, nah, I've got a bit of time, sure, you can go ahead there, go ahead of me. If the person does not express gratitude, how might you feel? Into the chat box, what do we think? So you've said, oh yeah, you can go on ahead of me there. You've only got one item, and they just walk on past and they don't say thank you. They don't express gratitude. How might we feel if somebody did that? Now, there's no right or wrong, and we could feel different things. I'm just interested in your thoughts. How do you think that we might feel? Any ideas? Maybe you've been in this position before. Margaret is saying annoyed. Daisy saying annoyed. Very good. Temple saying, I think that they were a bit rude. Yep. I would feel annoyed. Very good. Yep. Jen is saying pretty annoyed. Yeah. Excellent. Very good. So again, as you can see, we've got negative emotions, right? Jacqueline saying frustration. Yeah. Again, negative emotions. Yeah. Excellent. 100%. Okay, so as we can see that, again, well, Temple says you might be less inclined to offer again. Absolutely. Well, I'll remember that. That's the last time I'm going to do that. Yeah, very good. Yeah, excellent. Again, you can see so negative feelings. And then, as Temple was saying as well, it kind of has a negative effect in that, well, I'm not going to return that kindness again. So we're less likely to, to offer in the future. Pam is saying disappointed. Yeah. Negative emotion again. Yeah. But we'll let it go. Very good. Yeah. Excellent. Okay. Fantastic. So we can see overall pretty negative responses. Uh, now envision the opposite. So you've said, oh, listen, you've only one item there. Go on ahead of me. And they say, oh, geez, thanks so much. And you know, gosh, I'm in a mad rush and I have to get there. I really appreciate it. Now, how are you feeling? Let's think. What's the impact here? Brightens your day. Very good, yeah. Jen was saying, if I was feeling particularly annoyed, I'd probably say, you're welcome. I love it. A bit of passive aggressiveness. Yeah, yeah. Very good, yeah. Jacqueline is saying, do we feel great? Margaret saying, good. Yeah, excellent. Alice is saying, great, fantastic. She's saying, warm and happy. Pam is saying, glad. Look at all these good emotions, all these positive emotions we've got going on here. Yeah, excellent. Yeah, fantastic. So it just goes, it makes you smile, Temple. Yeah, very good. Yeah, excellent. And then Margaret says, usually say I'm not in a hurry and on you and go and smile at them. Very good. Yeah, you go. Fantastic. Yeah, excellent. So we've got again smiling, we've got that good gesture, we've got good feelings. So there you go. It just goes to show you the impact that expressing gratitude has, not only on us, but also on the other person. So it's definitely something we want to do more of, because that's where we see all those positive emotions. Whereas if we have a life that's, I suppose, devoid of gratitude, we can see all of those negative emotions that kind of dominate. So well done. Very good examples there. Okay, so what I would like you to chat about for a couple of minutes in the breakout rooms. Okay, so we've talked about kind of life in general. We've talked about our mental health, our well-being, and sort of all of those kind of benefits. Now I want you to thinking about your TSD goals, right, that you're working on at the moment. And I want you to tell me, how can the practice of gratitude help us achieve those healthy lifestyle goals? So how is practicing gratitude helping us in terms of our progress and the great work that we're putting in with TSD? Okay. And then I wanted you to give me one or two ways in which we can incorporate more gratitude into our lives. Okay, so one or two tips. If you get more, great. But I want one or two tips as to how we can incorporate more gratitude into our lives. Okay, so first, how is it going to help us in terms of our TSD goals? And then number two, how can we bring more into our lives? Okay, so I'm going to stop sharing there and I'm going to set up the rooms. Okay, so I'm going to open those rooms there. And away you go. Welcome back. How do we get on?
Hello. Yeah, no,
Oh,
we're
good.
good. Grand.
Good. Excellent. Okay. So I shall go to room number one. And in room number one, we had Andrea, Jacqueline, Laura, Margaret, and Pam. How did you get on?
No, I think we had a good chat about sort of what it means for us.
Brilliant.
Um,
Yeah.
we went through some examples,
Mm-hmm.
and I think the outcomes that we had were there was three, and I'm going to have to need you guys to step in. So one was that journaling will help us with keeping our motivation up.
Very good.
It will also help us to keep on track because you can look
Yes.
back. And I have
Absolutely.
forgotten the third one. Sorry, guys. God. Um,
Setting us up for the
set us up for the day. Thank you, Jacqueline.
Very good. Yeah.
Um,
Excellent, excellent. And as you said, I think it's very important when we're practicing gratitude that we are, as you said, journaling, putting it pen to paper, or we really have to savor it. Can't say, oh, well, yeah, that was great, and then just move on with our day. We have to be able to say, geez, that was great, or I did really well, or grateful that that happened today, and really kind of sit with it. We've got to let it absorb, like at least 30 seconds here for us to really feel the benefit of it. Yeah, that's excellent. Well done, room one. Fantastic. And in room two, we had Daisy, Alison, Jen, Sati, and Temple. How did you guys get on?
Really good. We did.
And are you a spokesperson?
Yeah, I am.
Go for
Well, I
it.
think I've nominated myself because no one didn't, you didn't nominate. I
Well,
nominated
self-nominate because no one else is volunteering.
No, we didn't actually get to that bit because we were talking so much. But
But that's
usually
great. That's
me,
what I like to hear.
usually
Go
me,
for
so I'll
it.
carry on and do it.
Yeah.
Right. So first one was how can the practice of gratitude help us achieve our healthy lifestyle goals? I'm apologizing for the light because it's like really sunny. So you can't really see my face properly, but it's okay. Right. So
Oh, good.
makes you more positive. So if
Yes.
you do it, it makes you more positive. So you're less likely to not, you know, you're less likely to not to achieve, or you're,
Very
have
good.
I got that right? Yeah, okay.
Yeah,
And then
100%.
it makes you feel better and more motivated if you do it.
Yeah.
But then on the other side, it says, in what ways can we incorporate more gratitude in our lives?
Mhm.
So practice mindfulness, I think is already mentioned when
Very
somebody
good.
um,
Yeah.
so you continue with your 3 wins, whether it's on
Mhm.
the inner circle or in your report or in your journal. Savor the moment. Do
Yeah.
things like your awesome jar. I know that Alex some time ages ago said, "Oh, gratitude letters. I do a gratitude letter.
Yes,
You know,
very good. Yeah, excellent.
volunteer. Yes, a volunteer will give back.
Yeah, really, really important one. If you
Yes,
can.
if you can,
Yeah,
embrace, like you can embrace your setbacks. If you've had challenges, you've had challenges, but reflect on the positives. Don't try and hone in on the negatives.
very good.
So
Yeah,
embed the positive habits of like doing gratitude, like the say for it's a journaling or continue with the 3 wins. Make sure you're doing it on a consistent basis.
very
I
good.
like the one that Jen said about rephrasing the negative thoughts into positive thoughts. So
Very good.
you change your perspective and
100%.
express gratitude. But like, you're saying thank you to someone? I know it's sometimes a bit hard. So you
Mhm.
can acknowledge the impact of that just on yourself and the other person when you say thank you back.
Very good. So kind of having a little bit deeper than thank you. I mean,
Yeah.
thank you is great, but geez, you really helped me there, or you were very supportive there, or you've got me out of a pickle there, or yeah. And just having that little bit of a deeper, and it's great for a deeper connection with people then as well, isn't it? When you're really saying this is the benefit that you made or the difference that you made to my life, or yeah. That's
Yeah,
excellent.
because sometimes like I find it hard like when kids or parents say not as much like when they say oh you've done really good. Like there's one years ago that said that you made such an impact on my she wrote me like a massive email. Then when she spoke to me in person, she goes, oh, can you have my daughter as well? Because they're quite softly spoken, quiet kids. She goes, oh,
Yeah.
he's really come out of his shell. And I was
Oh,
like, inside, I was like thinking, beaming, thinking, oh, yeah, yeah,
yeah.
I've made, but outside, like to say out what I needed to say, I
Yeah.
couldn't say it. So like not embarrassed, but thinking, oh my God, what do I
Yeah.
say back? I don't feel like I don't feel like I have done anything kind of thing. So you like play it
Yeah.
down. But inside I was like, yes, I'm so
Yeah.
happy that he has like, the parents have acknowledged that, seen a difference at home. And but I couldn't have the sister because she went into a different form
Oh,
group. But that was it was a nice comment for the parent to have. But back
100%.
then I couldn't it was pre-TSD. Back then it was I didn't know how to respond back
Very good.
properly.
Yeah, and I think you said as well there, it's so nice, and we want to encourage when people do those things because we do need to express gratitude directly to people more often. And then, as you said there, and if you say, "Well, thanks very much, that's very much appreciated," and really means a lot, and then that encourages more people to do it, as you said. But it can be, if particularly if we're doubting ourselves or not feeling very confident in ourselves or self-esteem is lower, it just seems a bit, oh, I don't know how to respond here. So I'll just say very little. But I mean, to say that, yeah, you wouldn't make a comment like that lightly. And I
No.
think always, I mean, a referral to the other child, that speaks wonders. So there you go. But absolutely. And I think, as you said, they're really savoring it when people do say express their gratitude towards us. Yes, expressing our gratitude to other people, but really savoring that is very important. Done, everybody. Those were some really great discussions. And as Sadie was saying there, it is about, I suppose, making a commitment. So now, baby, you've got good gratitude practices already. And if so, excellent stuff. If you feel I don't really have much gratitude in my life, then we want to say, right, I'm going to make a commitment. Make it, say, for the second half of May. That's your commitment, say, for the next fortnight. I'm going to bring more gratitude in. I'm going to start practicing it using all of the fantastic methods that she both mentioned there in your groups. And as I said, it's something we've got to make that commitment. So we've got to stick with it, practice it, be persistent with it, and then it becomes more just a natural habit then at that point. So well done, everybody. Really great discussions. It's very positive mastermind overall. So well done to you all. Very uplifting. You're all very inspiring. So fair play to you. And I hope everybody has a lovely fortnight. I think this good weather is around to stay for a little while. So make sure you're getting out and enjoying that vitamin D. And I shall see you all in 2 weeks' time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Take care,
Bye.
everybody.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank
Thank you very
Bye.
much.